Your meta ads might be working, but you just might be reading the numbers the wrong way. Now, if you're running meta ads for your gym or studio, I want to show you something that can completely change the way that you look at your ad account. Because there's numbers inside the ads manager that look incredibly good, but that can still lead to very terrible decision making. And the weird part is the numbers themselves aren't necessarily wrong. You might just be reading them in a way as something that they're not. Let me give you a really simple example. Imagine you open your ads manager and you see this, 3,400 clicks. You spent $2,000, your cost per click looks ridiculously cheap, and immediately you're thinking, okay, well, the ads are obviously working. I'm getting tons of traffic. So if people aren't becoming members, my problem must be my website and landing page. So you start messing with the website. You rewrite it, you rebuild the landing page, and maybe you even pay someone a few $1,000s to redesign the whole thing for you. But then a month later, you notice that nothing really changes. Here's what could have happened. Those 3,400 clicks, they're not 3,400 people visiting your website. Not even close. Because if that column that you're looking at says clicks all, Meta is counting basically every interaction that somebody has with your ad. If they hit the like button, that's a click. If they comment, they count that as a click. If they share it, they actually count that as a click. If they tap see more because the captions were cut off, that counts as a click. If they tap on the photo, that counts as a click. And if they click on your gym's profile, you've guessed it, that counts as a click. Now, none of those people necessarily went to your website. That's the distinction that needs to be made. So let's say out of those 3,400 clicks, you actually had 280 link clicks. Then out of that 280, only 210 actually waited for the landing page to load. Now the math from those numbers looks completely different. And so does your expectation around them. You didn't spend $2,000 to get 3,400 website visitors. You spent $2,000 to get 210. That's about a $9.50 per actual visitor. This is now a very different conversation. And I'm not bringing this up because the clicks all is a fake number. It measures what Meta says that it measures. The problem is it's not very transparent. And when you look at the word clicks, the way that you might naturally interpret that is people that clicked through to your website. That's where you're gonna get yourself into trouble. So if you're running ads, there's two numbers that I'd rather you look at than clicks all. The first is link clicks. This tells you how many people actually clicked on the link. The second one, which is even better, is landing page views, because now we know that they clicked and that the page actually loaded. And there's another really useful thing hidden in those two numbers. What you can do is look at the gap in between them. If 300 people click on the link, but only 210 make it to the page, it means that you've lost 30% of that traffic before they ever had an opportunity to decide whether or not they even liked your offer. Now, that's not necessarily a meta problem. That might be a slow landing page, that might be slow loading time, it might be a technical issue, but at least now you know what the problem is that you actually have to try and solve. And I know this sounds like a tiny distinction, but this is how gym owners spend months trying to fix the wrong numbers in their marketing system. They think, my traffic is cheap, so the ads are fine. Meanwhile, the traffic was never actually cheap. Or even worse, they put an ad on pause because the cost per click looked high, when maybe that was the ad that was actually producing people who showed up, had money, and bought. And at the end of the day, people that purchase is metric number one. Now let me show you another one that I think could be really dangerous. ROAS, return on ad spend. This is the thing that you always hear every time you speak to somebody that's new to running ads, or maybe that's been burned in the past. This is probably one of the most popular numbers in all of advertising simply because it's just easy to understand. If Meta says you have a 4x ROAS, great. It means you put $1 in and $4 came back out. Sounds like a no-brainer. Most people just think, scale it. But there's a question that you have to ask. Who decided that Meta actually contributed to that sale? Well, Meta did. And that's an important note, because return on ad spend inside Meta is an attribution number. It's Meta saying, we believe that this revenue happened because of this advertising. Plain and simple, black and white. And there's rules behind how they make that decision. Right now, the default attribution includes a 7-day click window along with a 1-day engage through and a 1-day view through attribution system, which basically means that there are situations where somebody can simply see or engage with your ad, buy shortly afterwards, and then Meta receives credit for that conversion. And for a local gym, that gets interesting really fast, simply because you're not advertising to 50 million people. You're advertising between maybe a 5 or 10 mile radius. Think about it. There's existing members inside of that audience. There's past leads inside that audience, people who you already know, referral traffic, even people that have been following you for over a year. So here's a case study. Imagine someone that's already been a member for a year or two. They see one of your ads on Instagram, they don't click it, they scroll right past it because they're already a member, but the next day they talk to you about upgrading or renewing their membership to continue with your program. Now, depending on the attribution situation, Meta may receive credit for that revenue. Did the ad contribute to them renewing? Maybe, it's possible. But did that ad create a brand new customer who otherwise wouldn't have purchased? That's a completely different question. And this is the same reason sometimes you can look at a retargeting campaign and think, well, this thing's crushing it. I have a 6x ROAS. So what happens is you pour more money into the retargeting campaign. Meanwhile, the cold advertising doesn't look nearly as impressive inside of the platform, so what happens is most people start to cut that budget. The problem is then 2 months later, you're wondering why your new lead volume dried up. Well, even the people that bought from a retargeting campaign became a new lead at some point. And because that campaign looked amazing, it's gonna collect the credit from the people who are already close to buying anyway. Now listen, this doesn't mean that ROAS is useless. It means that you just need to understand what it really is. Inside of Meta, it's an attribution metric. It's not your bank account. And that's why I like looking at something called MER alongside of it. Very simple. All you have to do to get your MER is take the total revenue of the business generated and divide it by the total amount of spend on your advertising. Now nobody gets to argue which Facebook ad caused which sale. What we're doing is stepping back and asking, as we're increasing our investment in marketing, is the business actually producing more revenue? And then underneath that, I care about the numbers that are much closer to being a real human being. Like, what are you paying per qualified lead? What are you paying for a booked appointment? What are you paying for an actual paying new member? And what percentage of your leads are actually becoming members? Because ultimately that's where this entire thing is going anyhow. Someone standing inside of your gym paying you money. That's the result. Everything before that is just information that helps us diagnose how we're getting there. And clicks and ROAS are only two examples of how people misinterpret the performance of their campaigns. There's actually 3 more metrics that I want to talk about. The first one is reach. You see a very specific number like 41,286, and you might naturally think, 41,000? Wow, 41,000 people saw my ad. But reach is actually just an estimate of profiles. It's not literally somebody standing at the door of your gym counting 41,286 actual humans. And when you're operating inside of a small local market, that distinction makes a big difference because you actually might be hammering the same group of people over and over and over again. Then there's something called estimated ad recall lift. The key word here is estimated. Now, I'm actually a big believer in brand because I really like the idea of marketing to future buyers. And I think gym owners massively underestimate how important it is that somebody already knows the name before they're ready to buy. But there's a difference between saying brand awareness matters and saying Meta estimates 5,120 additional people remembered me. Therefore, this campaign is definitely working. Okay, those two things are not the same thing. And then there's probably my favorite one. 3-second video plays. Your video starts auto-playing while somebody's scrolling. They stop for 3 seconds, maybe they watched, maybe they were reading the caption, maybe they got a text, or maybe their thumb just stopped moving. You don't know. So, if you're deciding which creative to scale based purely on 3-second views, there's a real possibility that you're scaling the video that could have been just a random thumb stop, instead of the one that actually holds the attention and generates appointments. Now, talking about that metric deserves its own video. But what we've done for you is we've put all 5 of these into a guide. It's completely free. If you want to learn more about how to accurately interpret your campaign's performance to make smart decisions, all you have to do is go to the link in the description, download it for free, and then that could be your Bible to understanding exactly how to interpret your ads. You'll learn exactly how misreading can cost you money, and most importantly, what you should really be tracking. There's also a section in there that shows you what 5 numbers we think should be running your gym. And here's what's interesting. Most of them don't even live inside of the Meta Ads Manager. They're inside of your CRM. They're in your sales numbers. They're in your bank account, which is exactly my point of this entire video. Because the further a metric gets away from the actual person becoming a paying member, the more careful you need to be about allowing that number to make the budget decisions for you. And there's also a video walkthrough guide for rebuilding your ads manager columns, basically stripping out some of the noise and putting the numbers you actually care about right in front of you. So you don't have to remember this every time you log in. Just get it set up properly the first time. Now, before you download it, there's a really simple test that you can do. Open the last 30 days of your marketing and answer these 3 questions. Number 1, how much did you spend per booked appointment? Not per lead, per actual appointment. Number 2, how many of those actually became paying members? And finally, number 3, what is your blended MER for the month? Again, that's total revenue divided by the total advertising spend. If you can answer all 3 of those immediately, great. Then you're probably tracking your marketing much deeper than most of the gym owners that we come in contact with. But if one of those 3 questions makes you go, I actually have no idea, that's probably a much more important thing to fix right now than finding the new offer or ad hack. So all you have to do is click the link in the description, grab the guide below, go through the 5 metrics, and then rebuild your dashboard around the numbers that actually connect your advertising to people walking through the front door. And I'll see you in the next video. If you like this video and want more information on how to scale your gym, make sure you check out the rest of our page and smash that subscribe button. Until the next video, we'll see you soon.